Alright, hello Internet. My name is Joel Clark. I'm the head writer, de facto head writer, and head game designer of Tiang Shang, All Above Heaven, which is the spiritual successor to Legends of the Wulin. So I wanted to get on here and talk about it for a while, mostly because Eric did this when he was writing on Legends of the Wulin, and it was awesome, and trying to capture a little bit of that zeitgeist with this. Also, there's been a lot of work on this, and I don't know that we've been as transparent as we could have been with like what's going on with it, what our relationship to EOS is, like what we're trying to do with the game, when it's going to be released, all that, what the mechanics look like. So, and of course, it's been developed for the last couple of years, so there's been some changes in things. So I wanted to get on here and just kind of yak about it for a while, give you guys an idea of like what to expect from this, like what the hell is it, what does it do, when is it going to be available, that kind of stuff. So I got a little bullet list here. We're just going to follow that, uh, just so I can get some what I conceive of to be FAQs out of the way. I don't know if anyone's actually asking any of these things, but I'm like these would be questions I would have if I would come across this video and I was like, oh hey, new Legends of the Wulin kind of game. What the hell is that all about? Well, here it is. First of all, maybe a brief history. We the current team that's writing and working on this is basically a collection of people that met David Ramirez on the RPGNet forums when he was looking for writers for the Legends of the Wulin Light version, which is going to be like an introductory kind of set of rules for Legends of the Wulin, with the understanding that you would then kind of graduate into being able to play the whole game. And it was meant to it was meant to like revive the game a little bit, inject some new lifeblood into it. Unfortunately, while we were working on that project, EOS Press kind of vaporized. From my understanding, they went bankrupt. So our connection to them was essentially severed, except for David. Of course, David Ramirez worked with them on Legends of the Wulin. I believe he worked on previous projects too. But his big passion was the wuxi kung fu stuff, and he really batted for it. So whenever EOS crumbled, he took us and our work and he was like, well, why don't we just make a new, different game out of it and just make it like a spiritual successor to Legends of the Wulin? And he had an idea for like a sci-fi game, and that's what we've been working on since then. So this is a spiritual successor to the game. I've heard them called Heartbreakers in other places. So this is a Heartbreaker. Um, it it's got some real work done into the chassis, so I'm going to dig into that directly. Um, the only real links we have to Legends of the Wulin are David Ramirez, who, as I said, worked on it, and I've been in email contact with Eric Tenbrake. I hope I'm saying that right, Eric. I hope I didn't screw your name up. Who was one of the main writers on Legends of the Wulin, and I've been kind of bouncing ideas off him. He's given me his thoughts on things, and it's really improved the writing. But those are our only real connections. So, business connection to EOS. I've never spoken with the CEO or anyone else involved with them. The only person involved with the only people I've talked to that have been involved with EOS are Eric, who no longer works with them, of course, and really only worked with them on that one project, was my understanding, and David, who knew the guys and was kind of their front man. So that's our team's relationship to EOS, to kind of clarify, and like that's the basics of like how we're connected to Legends of the Wulin. Let's see. So let me describe our operation a little bit, just so you guys don't have like any misgivings about how we do business. Um, what we basically do is I am the main rules development guy. David will have an idea, or someone else in the team will have an idea, and my job is to make the overarching mechanical assumptions of the game and integrate those new ideas into it, so that they work and don't break anything. Um, I kind of got this crown because I'm prolific when it comes to writing rules. I write tons of them, and I've been the one who's been like really hammering down on, okay, look, these are things we need to change, things we need to do. Here's ways to make this happen reliably with mechanics, that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, that's what I do. I'm a mechanics guy. I do a little bit of setting writing, but it's extremely minor. So I have been doing the writing for the introductory module too, which I'm going to get to in a minute, like what this new thing is going to look like. So I've become sort of de facto head writer. Overall, I've written about 40 to 50,000 words that are going to see the final product, and I'm probably going to about double that before I'm done getting this document out the door. So since I've written just so much, I've kind of become the de facto head writer, although technically David is the head writer and setting guy. Um, that's kind of how that looks. What we do operation-wise, to give you an idea of like how we work. We're in different countries. I'm here in America. David is in China for the most part. I think I don't think he's actually like a citizen. He is actually a Mexican citizen who lives in China. I think I got that right. We have Victor Andrade, who lives in Mexico. He's our graphic design guy and our layout guy. Very important member of the team. And there's Jörg Burrows, who I believe is, or Burge, I don't remember how to say your name right, Jörg, I'm sorry. And he is in Sweden. He's another studying guy like David. Also, he does a lot of very important work about the like contextualizing and doing the framework for the game. It's sort of hard to pin down exactly, but trust me when I say this operation would not work as well without this guy. So it's I don't know what we're gonna call him in the credits, but he's a super important dude, so that should be up there. So what we do is since we have a product we want to do this initial offering, we do the writing and make a draft, what we call an alpha draft. And then we playtest that in-house. Usually that's me and my stupid friends, or David and his friends. I think Victor is one of them. And we playtest, and we write a playtest, give thoughts, and do a rewrite. And then we've been sending those playtests out to, right now, 3 core out-of-house teams for out-of-house playtesting. And I've been the guy getting the feedback from them and incorporating that into later drafts of the game. So once we've got all that feedback, once everything's been in-house and out-of-house drafted and play-tested, we are going to incorporate all that data and then do the final rewrite. Once we have the final document, we're going to do editing, layout with the art. We have commissioned art for it, and with a really good guy. Krzysztof Grobelski is his name. He's a freelancer. He's been in a lot of stuff in the industry, including stuff for Iron Kingdoms. He's extremely talented. If you want art for your game, go hire him. He's amazing. Chris, you're awesome, dude. Anyway, once we have the layout done and the art done and all of that, and the editing done, we're going to format it for PDF and just go ahead and release it. So that's how that operation is going to look. So now that we've got the boring stuff out of the way, I'm sure the actual questions that you have are more like, okay, what's this game going to look like? What's it going to play like? All right. So I've prepared a little list here of notable elements that are different and the same between our game and Legends of the Wulin and Weapons of the Gods, which both those inform the design of this one. So the most important point is that it is a sleek, streamlined, and strategic system. So in addition to having all the wonderful strategy of the previous games, it's been rewritten. Like all of those systems have been rewritten. A lot of them have been cut down or removed with an eye towards making it play way quicker. And we actually have a playtest where you can see that getting done by one of our out-of-house playtest groups. Cool guys, and they do a really fantastic job of showcasing how cool the game is. So I'm going to put a link down there so you can check that out, and that should give you an idea of just how much quicker it plays than its predecessors. Things that are very much the same, the central pool of dice, previously called a lake, are still there. It's basically still the one roll engine in a lot of ways. We have that. We call that an action pool. It's a working title. We might change that. The set matching is still there. So you roll 10-sided dice or d10s, and then you set them as whatever has the same facing, you know, 1s and 1s, 2s and 2s. Those group into sets, and the dice are worth 10 each, and then the facing is the ones column. So like a single die that rolls a 7 is a 17, 2 dice that roll a 7 are 27, 3 dice that roll a 7 are 37. You get the gist. That's exactly the same. We like that. The math is really unusual with that and kind of lopsided. And it produces a game in which you can't really predict, oh, this guy's got more dice, so he is more powerful because it's not purely additive. But the overall effect is one of more power with more dice, especially because we've messed with how actions work a little bit, but I'll get into that in a minute. The dice storage, too, previously called the river, the dice storage is still a thing that you have. in this case, we've retermed that focus, and you just take a die, you put it in your focus slot, and you can save that between turns. Other dice you either use, you lose them at the end of the turn. So that's the basics of how the system works. Extremely similar to the previous iterations of the game because it was a solid core. Things we have done that have radically changed the way the game plays at the table. Skills, which kind of felt like an afterthought in Legends of the Wulin in a lot of ways, now have a very expanded and more complete rules. We've actually taken a lot of inspiration from the old Marvel game, the face rip system. So we actually have a chart of, well, what does this turn into when I use this skill? So also all characters have a central set of 7 skills, including just like how strong you are, how fast you are, how smart you are, and all those have these charts called the effect charts, very similar to the charts in the face rip system, where they kind of give you an idea of the scale of your action given different sets. So they've a much more robust kind of set of mechanics than they did in previous iterations of the game. Rather than rolling multiple times during a turn, one of the things that we recognized as a real issue with Legends of the Wulin was if you continued rolling over and over again, the effect of having a higher die pool was a lot more pronounced than it would be if you rolled fewer times. We managed to break it down to one roll at the beginning of your turn. So you roll your dice once in a turn, you line them up and make your sets, and that gives you the pool of actions that you can take for that turn. So that has made the die pool a much more limited resource and has increased the strategy of the game, as well as making it roll and move a lot more quickly. It also, in play, has made some really fun, interesting, fun situations occur really commonly. Like you might get a small straight and have to kind of deal with the fact that you only have a large amount of weak actions, or you might get several more powerful ones and have a different set of options. It's been really interesting how it works out. So that's one of the big changes. The chi imbalances from the previous system, we kept those because they were one of the coolest parts of Legends of the Wulin, and the systems they made for those and the game they made with that is extremely cool. Our version is just called imbalances because we want to make sure that we're making it distinct from the previous game. And they still make you choose between mechanical and narrative penalties. Like that was their big innovation with those, and we liked that a lot, so we wanted to preserve that. Now ours are a little cleaner. They only make you make the choice at the beginning of a round of combat or a turn, or whatever, and they're locked into that choice for the remainder of the combat. So you don't have to continually think of, am I going to take this penalty or that penalty with every action you take. You start your turn with that, and that just informs how you deal with it throughout the turn. There's a lot of decisions to make. There's a lot of role play in there, but there's a lot less moving parts in the rules, or they move a lot less frequently. So that's one of the things that really helped with the streamline. Lore sheets we kept. Again, those are a brilliant innovation, and they've been around since Weapons of the Gods. They're great. We've tried to upgrade them as much as possible and revise them. Our take on those are just called lores. They tie characters to the setting with a set of responsibilities from the organization that gives you the powers of the lore. So like it's more like almost like a class in Dungeons and Dragons, except rather than just being I'm a fighter, it's I was trained by these fighters, they have expectations of me, and they'll keep training me, giving me more powers if I am loyal to them. Different lores have different underlying assumptions, but that's the basic form of them. Going off of that, the XP generation mechanism has been tied to how you interact with that. Not only that, but also your struggle with destiny, loyalty, societal expectations. Basically, and this is a very important thing in this game, we wanted to make certain that, since that's kind of what we call a disassociative mechanic, we want to make sure we weren't screwing up the roleplay with that. So there is a clear divide within the game between role-playing, which is just doing something with an eye towards immersion in the character and the character's decision-making, and portrayal, which is a different thing, which is how would this character act as a character in a play or something like that with these different things they're having to deal with. So portrayal allows us to take that sort of out of game, like sort of meta game action of this doesn't make any sense for my character to do really, and make it something that is gameable for you to do. So whenever you struggle with the expectations that are placed in your character or your character's destiny, you get experience points for that. So that was a really important part of redesigning the game. Was like, what do we want out of it? And since we decided we did want that role play and that portrayal to be something that happened, we had to give enough room for it to be something that people would want to interact with without it being onerous. So the core assumption of this game is that you're going to be immersed in your character and playing it like you play other role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, whatever. But when it comes to portraying the character's struggles, we want that to be something that you can actually, I think I've covered it pretty well. Anyway, so those are some of the things that are new and different and notable about the game. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, well, keep watching. When it comes to what is our first product going to look like? Like, what is the actual document, game, book, whatever going to look like? Okay, so we've decided it's going to be a pay what you want, print on demand document. It's going to be a PDF. You're going to go to one of the sites we've chosen for distributing it and just pay whatever you want for it, pick it up, you get the PDF. It's also going to be a print on demand, so if you want a physical copy, it's going to be a little more expensive, unfortunately, because we don't control the cost of the printing or the shipping or anything like that. But it's still going to be relatively cheap, and then you get the actual print on demand. It's looking like it's going to be about 20,000 words per act, and it's a 4-act thing. So that's like the size of the document. What it is, it's going to be a sci-fi retelling of the Journey to the West, starting with the Awakening of the Monkey King. So that's what you can expect as far as the content. As far as the scope, it's a complete non-linear mini-campaign. It takes place on 3 distinct worlds. Each one has a map, each one has bad guys, including monsters, which are notably absent from the previous versions of the game. It's got weak bad guys, it's got mini-bosses, it's got big bosses. Everything you'd expect to see in a big, monstrous space opera thing, you get. And you can actually play it as its own little self-contained mini-campaign. It's got scads of NPCs. In addition to that, it's got minions. Minion rules in previous games were pretty solid. We've done a nice, clean little draft of those, so it's easy to just fill out a scene with a bunch of NPC mooks you can punch in addition to the big bad guys. It's got options for creating your own characters, of course. It also has 4 pre-generated characters. In addition to making your own characters, there are 4 pre-generated characters. We of course got Sun Wukong the Monkey King, Tripitaka the Monk, and we also detailed the Pig Demon Sandy, or the Pig Demon Pigsy, and the Sand Demon Sandy. So they've got detailed write-ups too, and you can use those characters as written, no problems. You can also make your own characters, so there's a lot of options there. And actually, ultimately, there's enough options there to make your own stuff and run your own campaigns too. That was another thing we wanted to do with it. So we're really hoping that allows people to start digging into this setting with a super low threshold for entry. In addition to being a rules reference document, having the rules in it, it's going to be a teaching document that kind of just step by step lets you play the game and learn the game and teach the game all in one go. So it's a very complete document. In addition to all that cool stuff, the maps I mentioned, we've made certain to make a pretty solid set of travel rules for them, so you can kind of unlock the potential of those maps. And it's a good set of advice for how do I actually practically run this. So a lot of effort, a lot of work count into that. It's so far been pretty positive reviews. Speaking of that, how done are we is a good question you might have. We've been working on this thing for a couple of years now. It's nearing completion. The first Act 1. The Act 1 playtest has been released, about 20,000 words. It's had largely positive reviews from the playtesters. They all got through it really quick. So 20,000 words is about a day's worth of material, as I found out. The Act 2 alpha draft is done. I got it done yesterday night. We're going to start playtesting that for the next few days, once I've done the in-house playtest and the rewrite. I'm hoping to get that out tonight, but we'll see. in writing that act, I hit a lot of snags and delays, which I had not anticipated. I've never done this before. So because I hit those, I was able to create a procedure for writing Acts 3 and 4, so I can streamline them and get them out a lot faster. I bumped up against my deadline for Act 2 about 3 times. That's a 2-week deadline. I think I took a month and a half. Might have been 2 months. So I kept hitting that deadline and just blowing right past it. That's not very professional. So I've made a process that'll allow me to make a little less content for the next 2 acts, but still not have them be empty. Like, so one of the things I did with this is that I made basically 19 mini adventures and just put them all along the map so that you could interact with them at your own pace as players, and it wasn't linear. You could go whichever direction you wanted to. And there was stuff to find and things to interact with, and that was awesome, but it was a ton of word count. Like, half of the word count of Act 2 is that. So it's pretty massive. I'm not going to do that for the remaining 2 acts. What I'm going to do is make a set of guidelines for making your own content and let you guys go wild. So that's the big plan with that. Art. We do have art for this. We commissioned art, like I said before. It's coming in for the project. And when we initially commissioned it, there was a very tentative EDA for the end of May. Now, unfortunately, our artist got really, really just knocked down, drag out sick. The poor guy was down with the flu for like a month. It was bad. So I've pushed that tentative ETA to the end of June, just because, like I said, you can't predict stuff like that. It happens. Now, it's my plan to have all of my writing in the alpha draft done and the playtest wrapped up by then. Now, I might write a little over. Like I said, I blew past my deadline for Act 2 2-3 times. I might not be that quick, even with the things I've got, but the plan is to have them done and playtested, and that feedback incorporated by the end of that. So then all we'll have to do is do editing, layout, formatting, blah blah, the stuff you do to make a PDF. I'm estimating that's about 1 to 2 months worth of work. It might be faster, depending on how busy our layout and editing guy is. That's Vic. He's extremely good at what he does, but he does it professionally, so that's his job. He's a busy guy. So depends on his schedule. My estimation is 1 to 2 months. So our tentative release date is the September 2017, at some point in September. Our original release date was July. That's not looking very likely. I think more realistically, September is a better time when you can expect it. So, that is that. My kids are starting to go crazy, especially the youngest one. He's probably going to spill my rice here. I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys have any questions about the game, you can email me or go to my blog and comment on this video. You know, the typical way is get in touch with folks. I also regularly post on RPGNet and the RPG site. I'm Azrael on there. Hi. So if you want to talk to me about this stuff, you can PM me on those sites too, etc., etc. That should probably have answered most of the things that you guys are interested about. I'm additionally going to I've put up a bunch of stuff on the blogs too to give you an idea of how things are. So, thanks for watching. If you're excited, please remain excited until September and then give us money. As I said before, it's going to be a pay what you want document, but any future works are going to have to be funded out of that document. We've actually done the art, editing, and all that stuff, all the upfront costs for that out of pocket. So it's pretty expensive. I mean, like, we got a great deal on the art, we really did, but yeah, future projects are going to require funding. So if you want to give us money on the pay what you want, it will be extremely helpful. We're putting about 80-ish% of it outside of, because we're basically profiting 20%, and 80-ish% of it is going back into the next products. So if you want to see more, you know what to do. In the meantime, keep playing, and even if you don't pay anything for it, if you just want to spread the word around about what you're doing, go ahead and post online, make adventures, make your own stuff, make your own lores. Good. Get the word out. Get the game popular. The more popular it is, the more likely that you're going to see more products. So, that's my plug at the end of this. Aside from that, you guys take care, and I will talk to you later.